All right. Peace, and blessings. Peace and blessings. Haki Ami, the Success Scholar, Honorable One of Safo, Dr. Haki Shakur Ami here. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you all are well. Hope you are wonderful. Hope you are staying warm, broadcasting live in Baltimore, Tubman City. Yes. So as you can see, I wanted to really just give some insights and, just open up an analysis. And, one thing I always say, if I can save one person's life by recognizing certain topics and sharing some of my experiences. Sorry, I'm taking some black seed oil. It's a little quiet taste, just so you know. But I feel that, as you can see in the title, and I want to reiterate, I repeat, do not join any of these Black Panther movements, right? And this is from my research, but more importantly, my experiences. And let me give what I perceive as perhaps the most relevant and practical analysis. And so what you have is the reality of nonviolence versus violence, and versus self-defense versus passive aggression. Aggressive non-resistance, shall I say? Because what you have, for instance, is some people that take Dr. King's message on one end, and then individuals who take Malcolm X perspective. And so what I've been seeing over the years is that many people really just don't have the right priorities. Now, what do I mean? So recently, and I'll give like some of my experiences. Of course, many people heard, for instance, of the Philadelphia group that sort of kind of blew up the national issues, where they were talking about defending defending against the ICE agents that are in Minneapolis as well as other places. Now, I would say to that is certainly can be an honorable thing. And what do I mean by that? So particularly when they have like some tactics that may not be as peaceful, and they don't follow certain laws in terms of how they target people. Now, I don't live in the area, but I did go to a meeting locally here, for instance, in the Baltimore ICE Watch dynamic, just to become aware. See, because let me just share, in the global system of racism, white supremacy, I always start from the core premises. It's white over non-white, where, what you have, for instance, is there could be an accelerated pace of, arrogance, and accelerated pace of hostility, right? But the reality is that the highest level of hatred and hostility is still held for the darker people of the planet, which are black people. And so based upon the fear of genetic annihilation, right? So what that entails, for instance, is ultimately the goal is the elimination of black people, right? However you want to see it now. So what you have, for instance, and I just want people to know, not just from me, just, reading books, not just from watching YouTube, but showing up in different spaces and being part of different organizations or formations, whether it be formally or informally. Now, Officially, I was a member of NPDOM, International People Democratic Uhuru Movement, some years ago, which worked in collaboration with the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman O'Malley Yeshitela. So, generally speaking, and Chairman O'Malley, come up under, and he studied similarly with Huey P. Newton. I believe that he met Huey P. Newton just before Huey P. Newton got killed. And so they were attempting to reconstruct and build Huey P. Newton up before that time. And so what I wanted to say, for instance, though, just going into, just my experience in terms of what, some of and I read a book, Overcoming the Culture of Violence by Penny Hess. So, just an analysis of capitalism and, the global system of racism, white supremacy, and the exploitation of the global population. And so, and the colony of black people, for instance, that are still in America. Many people don't look at colonialism, that black people in America, they don't have a concept that black people in America are a colonialized colony within the boundaries of America, right? So, with that being said, I think that when we, for instance, we have organizations out here that see the Philadelphia group, Chairman Birdsong, trying to, or not trying, but, do some work, but also, kind of seizing the time, if you want to quote Huey P. Newton, or they become the vanguard of the movement. Many people are going to come out of the woodworks or have come out of the woodworks. And so I've been looking at some of the comments and I'm just like, man. So you have different people. You have other like militant groups, for instance, that, that perhaps have been out there and they aren't getting like that type of attention from just patrolling, our own communities, as some would suggest that that's all we should be doing. And ultimately, how are you really going to patrol and community control your own community? Like without, for instance, a sophisticated system. Because I wanted to say this because I've had to evolve. I've had to evolve in terms of some of my analysis, and I'm just like, I just don't see, for instance, no organized what you call the lumpen, so I'll say the urban underclass building some movement that could in fact protect the community, whatever that means, will protect the community, because we're protecting it from who? Now that's the question. And so now some would say protecting from police, but there are other forces, for instance, that people aren't even paying attention to, that are absolutely more damaging to the communities that these individuals aren't even talking about. So it's like, but if you, and I don't want to sound like, you taking it off the oppressor or such, but it takes a level of education, political education. Now, what I do recognize, there have been some good attributes, for instance, with the Panthers, and I know this from my affiliation with the new Black Panthers. I spoke at some different events that some were at and had a good relationship with the previous chairman, and I recognize, for instance, that although there were some people that were some good attributes that came from it, that there were some folk that really, they were just not very evolved. right? And they need this type of political education. They need that type of discipline, and they need those types of structure, and the pride that comes, for instance, from wearing a Panther uniform belonging to something outside of a gang, outside of a, a community that is aimed at, nothing but criminalization and criminal activities. And so we have, to really truly have these types of trainings, right? But ultimately it takes someone, for instance, and this is where Amos Wilson, I believe, had some analysis, but he also recognized the dynamics of capitalism to build some level of power within this society, right? And not everything is going to come through legislation, and and it depends upon the level of oppression that the adversaries will actually bring. Sometimes I watch a lot of I would say I was going to call them propaganda films, but films based upon Nazi Germany and just the evolution of that. I recall Dr. Frances Cress Welsing saying that one time she had some Jewish friends. This is what she said, and she said that the Jewish people got together, something to that effect, and they talked about black people's plight in America, right? And they said that some, and many people who know Dr. Welsing, they can attest to this. They can attest this. This is what she said. They said the same thing that happened to to Jewish people in Nazi Germany is the same thing that is happening to black people in America. And she said this time Jewish people said that they are not going to help black people. Now, I'm just saying what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said at that time. So, it doesn't mean all, it don't mean most Jewish people, however, but, whoever she was speaking of, they, in their mind, said that they're not helping black people. So the question, for instance, becomes, where, for instance, do you gain allies, and where does the level of oppression reaches such a level of shall I say, destruction or tormenting or oppression? Like Neely Fuller talks about maximum compensatory justice, right, where the levels of racism, white supremacy, and the treatment of black people or the victims of racism and white supremacy is so extreme that you or individuals have to take a level of self-defense. And I'm just paraphrasing his terms, but where you take a self-defense posture and the context of that. So I'm not saying everybody is going to have to be out here, and I'm going to get back to my point why we or individuals have to keep away from these different groups, because what you have, let's just face it, you have some people that are jealous, you have some people that are envious, and this can go for these Pan-African groups as well. You have some, though, that, that are, could be violent, that just want to fight anybody. They have problems with the police because they have a criminal mentality. They have a, anti authority, anti-policing mentality. And so here's the thing, what I have to find a delicate balance surround, because ultimately there are some people who are so criminal and are preying, due to the economic frustration, individuals coming out of prison preying on women or old women, to get money, doing what they got to do, whatever they rob, steal, sell poison, whatever they'd have to do to survive. So you have those dynamics that are going on within the community. And so the question becomes when, where, and how is this protection supposed to manifest, right? So one more thing, not one more thing, but another thing that I wanted to say is that there are some very undisciplined behaviors that I saw because, again, me and my affiliations, I saw some things that I didn't come back and tell people because it was just so embarrassing that how these groups, these Panther groups, I ain't gonna say they let anybody in, but sometimes they just run wild. They just run wild, undisciplined, and they gonna get some people locked up. They're gonna get some people killed, and some people gonna get killed. Eventually fooling with some of these groups. So the best thing, what I would say or suggest is, like you can learn things from these groups, but not everybody's out here in the streets every day, trying to watch police or whatever, or, I know I don't, I try to have, connections on some levels, but, am I out patrolling, doing cop watches and thinking, thinking that I'm supposed to be like the citizens on patrol and patrolling the police officers too, and patrolling the criminal things that happen in the community. So it's just there's a lot of dynamics that's going on that I don't think that the Panthers, these young brothers, really gonna understand, right? And some things come from living long, and then they just out here without, mature. Some of these older Panthers too. Let me just say, many people are just quoting things that they've read, and they're not out here today, and they try to live off of their Panther legacy because that's all they have to hold on to, right? That's all they have to hold on to. And so young people, they making films about it, and then you have Fred Hampton Jr. Up in Chicago, and he got internal Panther beef going on with Sister Leela Wells, my birthday twin, right? So he wilding out, and first he tries to be the ultimate signature, ultimate authority over the Panther legacy. He's going over to Ghana now, and so I guess he done. I ain't gonna say he left Chicago, but he just trying to expand on the Panther legacy. 50, what is he? Probably 55, 56 years old. 57, maybe about 50s or probably about 5 years older than me. So he probably 56, 57. But he kicking up dust up in Chicago, and there's some wild stuff going on, right? with him. I know, after that film, he just in his mind, he was the Panther, the celebrity Panther of the decade, of the century, right? And so, and another thing, you have this Huey P. Newton's alleged son and the niece, and let me just say, I said it on a post that there was so there's a who alleged Huey P. Newton's son. Some people say he not related and he ain't do a DNA test or whatever. I'm not. He was in my inbox some years ago talking about he running for president, and I'm just president what? What are you talking about, man? I'm not gonna sit up here and spend my time. I don't know where you are. I don't want to read none of your documents. Man, I got work to do. I got books to read, books to write. Man, see, and this is the kind of distractions that you come across. Somebody in your inbox claiming to be Huey P. Newton's son, sending you all kind of 3 or 4 page documents about the what is it, sovereignty, and like all kind of weird stuff that you have no power to implement. You have no resources, you have no network, you have no skills, and like you're just dreaming, right? And so this is where the difference between reality and practicality doesn't register with some of these people. And there's another sister. She's not a part of it. She in it on TikTok inboxing me talking about she ran for president against Kamala. It's not Melina Abdullah, but somebody else. So you have a lot of this stuff, and then you have Huey P. Newton's niece talking about, well, yeah, the new Black Panther Party, the new such and such. I'm like, man, where the hell she pop up from? I mean, no offense, but she calling them the new Black Panther Party. It wasn't the new Black Panther Party. Like, there are different chapters of new Black Panther Party. They're just like they're chapters of this Black Panther Party. And let me just say, and the reason why I say not to join these people, like, I have several different reasons. There's an online video, 2 quick stories about videos that I said, you know what, that's why I don't have time for these people. They so disconnected, like they just want to pretend that they freaking G.I. Joe or Randos. Like, and nothing happened. They training for an imaginary scenarios. It's not even like they're practical. Like, you're not going to do some of this stuff. Like, I'll give you this example. Why in the hell did I see some kind of, and I don't know if it was Huey P. Newton Gun Club, and I'm going to talk about Huey P. Newton Gun Club, and NFAC or some of these other people, the Not Effing Around Coalition, I mean, who, they kind of go intertwine or whatever. But I once saw a video where they posted a training where they were doing some underwater type of training. Like, I don't know if they had guns underwater or, I mean, just swimming underwater. Like, dude, what in the hell are you talking about, man? Like, why in the hell, like, you talking about issues and you going to, like, extremes, you acting and pretending like you're a damn Navy SEAL, a damn paratrooper, 82nd Airborne, I don't know, like, what's the other one? The Delta Force. You gonna be the Chuck Norris up in this mother? You've been watching some SEAL movies, and maybe some of them, do come from special operations or something, But why are you advertising that you training for underwater operations? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, that don't even, like, man, you gonna go up against the Navy? Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, see reality versus fiction, and trying to show off and just do, like, their training and some of their, like, their drills, and this a lot of the Huey P. Newton Gun Club. But let me just say about them, I mean, because I posted on another sister video, and I don't have to make nothing up, but there was one video, and I saw it because I recall, matter of fact, who did I call in on? I think I called, it was Fred Hampton. He was on a show, and I asked him, what do you think about the Huey P. Newton Gun Club that is talking about build the wall. They did it 2 times and then they stopped. I guess they realized that wasn't, like, appropriate. But I want y'all to do a search, though, in, YouTube, where you can search, put in Huey P. Newton Gun Club and Proud Boys. Somebody did a video, apparently, that Huey P. Newton Gun Club and the Proud Boys were marching together. So I didn't know like who it was or who, or who calling themselves who. And this is a reason why I say you don't know what the hell you joining when you are out here joining these different groups that's popping up online, and you getting excited. You end up in jail. You end up shooting somebody, or somebody gonna shoot you, because it's possible that some are agent fronts, provocateurs or paid activists, right? That's a possibility. But then on the other end of that, you got some people that are just jealous of them, and they're not doing nothing, right? So it could go either way. But one thing you don't want to do is get yourself caught up in some, entrapment. Like, for instance, in Baltimore, there was this crazy nut job, and this is where I can name names. David Anthony Wiggins, crazy nut job who ran for sheriff in Baltimore City, and he hangs out with, they call themselves the 4Ds. David Anthony Wiggins, he ran for as a Republican, and he was former military, and he used to walk around and act all wild and act like he was a militant, half Moor, half like doing these little paper trail things. Talking about the what is it? The grand jury, using the grand jury. We gonna get DOJ here. We got the Department of Justice here in Baltimore for the to stop the police brutality, etc., etc. So he hangs out with people like Darren Muhammad. See, and this is, let me just say, the Black Panthers and Nation of Islam, they got some agents, or had some agents, and this is why they split up. All these different groups. You got the Universal Nation of Islam, what's the one who calls himself Allah down in Kansas? You got him who recently got some charges. You got, the different tribes. You got a few of these different splinters out here with that. And I recall how, reading that they had so many agents up in there. But speaking of that, going back to the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, yeah, please look that up. But I recall seeing them saying something about build the wall, and so I don't have to make nothing up. It was floating around during that time. I tried to pull it back up. I don't have no reason to make nothing up. I'm not like out there affiliating myself like on a regular basis, like in these spaces. I had to learn to be wise because I need to survive. And you have people sabotage, saboteurs that will sabotage your operations if you're not careful. If Marcus Garvey was sabotaged by, people who, he thought were, like loyalists, right? His top people where they destroyed the boats, right? His boat, allegedly. However, so I can't speak on what but that's kind of what I've gathered. So you have to be careful. You have to watch, these different little angry groups, because you never know what somebody is a part of and who their allies are and how Machiavellian they need to be in order to survive. And ultimately they have to get money to feed themselves. And so people are clout chasing out here, trying to get views, trying to be the king of the hills, right? Some of them, they don't have a career path, they don't have a job, so it's like, shoot, they trying to get as much attention from wherever they can in order to build up a little following, a little global following. And you get $20 here, $20 there. Next thing you know, you can eat for a couple weeks, right? You the flavor of the month. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening with that Philly, with that Philly group. But again, you have to be careful, have to watch the people. I suggest You can learn from these people, but don't spend all of your time like around in these spaces, because again, they can be, they could be very dangerous to your life, your freedom, and future economic opportunity. And so I say keep your distance. You can learn and listen, but don't just be showing up and just training with them and going out. This is a warning. If anybody that know me, they know I've been studying and been a part of different groups, but I had enough sense. And I give you this example. Even in PDOM, somebody called Dr. Amos Wilson a capitalist. And I'm like, well, I need some damn capital, because ain't nobody paying my bills. I need food, clothing, shelter, education, medication, self-defense. Ain't nobody, riding for me, making sure that I eat. So I need to do what I need to do. I'm not living in no compounds and, with nobody. So, and that's what some people, are being pushed towards. So you never know who's financing these people, and, they're gathering our young people or our, the lumping into these spaces as fodder, right? To build up so that somebody possibly could call for, stop the elections, or call for martial law, right? So just be careful, do what you have to do. I definitely am available. Hakeem Shakur Me, look me up on different social media platforms. I'll share this video, but I think, the timing is key, and definitely keep building. Peace and blessings.